here. My name is Leslie, and today I am doing the opposites book tag. I saw this tag done on Katz's channel, also known as Cats and Camera. I told her that I would do it, so I'm gonna go ahead and link her video down below. As most of you know, most of my books are currently still in Europe, packed up in 16 boxes, and I'm waiting on the day that, I have 5 grand to waste before I can ship them back. But for the sake of this tag, I'm gonna try my hardest to stick to answers with the books that are currently on my bookshelf. I'm not gonna spend very much time going over the books I pick for my answers because most of them already have their own reviews, and I'll be sure to link them down below. Question 1. The first book in your collection versus the last book you bought. For the first book in my collection, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This was the book that I had on me in the plane when I moved back to the United States from France. So I'm gonna consider that out of all these books, this is the first one in my collection. If you haven't read this before, this is a mysterious, dark, gloomy murder mystery, and it is fantastically creepy. The last book I bought, the most recent book in my collection, would be War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. This is the 4th and final novel in the Red Queen series. For some reason, I'm really enjoying this series, but it is extremely tropey. Nonetheless, I am so excited to get into the final installment. The cover is so gorgeous. Question 2, a cheap book versus an expensive book. For the cheap book, I'm going to pick Scythe by Neil Schussman because I got this book from Book Outlet for like $5, and the content is so good that it was worth so much more than $5. And on the other hand, an expensive book, I'm going to pick A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas because, as most of you know, I hated this novella so much. And what is the retail price? The retail price is $18. It's just not worth that much money, in my opinion. And I'm so glad that I did not actually buy this book, but I do feel bad that one of my girlfriends spent that much money on this piece of garbage. Question 3, a book with a male protagonist versus a book with a female protagonist. So after looking at all the books that I currently own, it seems like I mostly read female protagonists. So this didn't leave me with very much options to answer this. But for a male protagonist, one of the only series I own is The Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. And now I could pick any book out of my library for a female protagonist, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson, which I just recently finished reading and I reviewed, and I loved this so much. It was so cute. Question 4, a book you read quickly versus a book that took a long time to read. For a book that I read quickly, my pick is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, the first in the Red Queen series, and I devoured this book. I am enjoying this series so much more than I ever thought I would, which is funny because it took me months to be convinced to finally pick it up. For a book that took a really long time for me to read, my pick is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the second novel in the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and oh man, out of the 3, I hated this one. I just did not enjoy it at all, and it took me a really long time to just power through. Question 5, a pretty cover versus an ugly cover. For a pretty cover, my pick is Stock and Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. If you've been following my channel for a little bit, you know that I'm a huge fan of this series, but my feelings for the plot aside, look how gorgeous this cover is. The colors are just so pretty. As for an ugly cover, my pick is The Last Time I Lied by Rayleigh Sager, which sucks because this is one of my favorite picks of 2018, and I love this book so much, but I hate everything about the cover. I hate the big bold letters, I hate the face behind them. Oh, it's such a disappointment. This cover could have been very pretty. Question 6, a national book versus an international book. For the national book, I'm gonna go with The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins because this was made into a movie, so I feel like most people know what it's about or they've heard about it. For an international book, unfortunately, I have to break away from these books, and I'm gonna pick The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I unfortunately don't have it with me, it's in Europe, but this is a great mystery thriller concerning books, forbidden books, and it is taking place in Spain during the Spanish Civil War, so I feel like it's very educational and it's international. Question 7, a thin book versus a thick book. For a thin book, I have here The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. It's only 178 pages, and as you can see, it's super thin. It doesn't get any thinner than this. Unfortunately, I did not enjoy this book at all, to my biggest surprise, because everyone is praising him as an author. Wasn't for me though. As for a thick book, I'm gonna go ahead and pick again War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. This is 657 pages. It is thick. I don't know when I'm gonna get to it because I have to be prepared for this type of commitment, but it is currently the thickest book I own. Question 8, a fiction versus a non-fiction book. For fiction, I'm going to pick Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I have yet to read this book. I was supposed to get to it this month. It's not happening. However, this is a sci-fi retelling of Cinderella. Therefore, it doesn't get more fiction than that. And for a non-fiction, unfortunately, I don't have any. I haven't read any in a really long time. But for the sake of answering, I'm gonna pick Save the Date. This is a contemporary, but the wedding chaos that happens within this story feels very real and relatable to my own story. So I'm gonna pick this one as an answer for non-fiction. Question 9, a romantic book versus an action book. For a romantic book, I'm going to pick Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans-Welch. Even though this book revolves around grief, it is still taking place in Italy, and a lot of cute things happen in this book that are very romantic indeed. And for an action book, I'm looking at these books and none of them are as action-packed as Six of Crow was. So even though I don't have it with me, the struggle, I'm going to pick Six of Crows as my answer. Because that book is about a heist and it's just super action-packed. Question 10, a book that made you happy versus a book that made you sad. And for the book that made me happy, I'm gonna go with Morgan Matson's The Unexpected Everything. And Morgan Matson is my go-to happy contemporary fluffy read. I love all the books of hers that I've read. They're just so feel good. And I know that I'm gonna reread her books anytime I feel down because they're just so cute. And this book specifically is about reconnecting with your family and working through issues. And it's just, I love it. And for the book that made me sad, I'm gonna pick The Chaos of Standing Still. And this book made me cry hysterically like a baby for the last 50 pages of it. The entire book is about a girl who lost her best friend to death. Her best friend died. And there's so much grief and angst and depression and fear. And finally, when it delivers that final blow, you just can't help but start crying hysterically. And the last 2 sentences of this book will still make me tear up just thinking about it. It was an excellent book. It's one of my favorite new books of 2018. It made me sad, but sometimes you just want to be sad, you know? Sometimes you kind of crave that good cry that lets all your emotions out. I definitely recommend picking it up. So this is it for today's tag. I had a great time and I feel like I did a pretty decent job of mostly staying with the books that I currently possess. So now I'm going to tag some people, and the way I pick the people I'm tagging is by looking at my latest video and seeing who commented on it. And if I haven't tagged you in a while, then I choose you. So these people are It's My Birthright, Katelyn Killjoy, Alex Black, and Todd the Librarian. Tag, you're it! As always, thank you for your support, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye!